Min Yang was only 17 when her life changed forever. She grew up in Haesan, a small North Korean town that sits right on the Yalu River. This river is more than just a body of water. It marks the border with China. Across the frozen surface, Min Yang could see the other side. Chinese villages, electricity lights at night, people moving freely. It was so close that it felt almost within reach. Yet for her, it was an entirely different world. North Korean soldiers constantly patrolled the riverbanks. Watchtowers lined the border, and anyone caught attempting to cross faced severe punishment. Some were executed publicly, while others disappeared into prison camps. Even with this danger, the dream of freedom pushed people to attempt the impossible. On one bitterly cold winter day, Min Yang took a deep breath, stepped onto the ice, and began walking toward China. That single step was the beginning of a 7-year struggle, filled with fear, loss, and unimaginable challenges. North Korea is one of the most isolated countries in the world. Under Kim Jong-un, restrictions on leaving the country have only grown harsher. The borders are tightly guarded, fences have been reinforced, and the standing order is simple: shoot anyone trying to escape. Despite these conditions, hundreds of North Koreans still attempt to flee every year. They endure dangerous river crossings, long nights hiding in fields, weeks of starvation, and years living in constant fear of being sent back. Most defectors dream of reaching South Korea. They share a common language and history, and South Korea grants citizenship to those who make it across. But the direct path between North and South is blocked by the demilitarized zone. Although it is called demilitarized, in reality it is one of the most militarized borders on Earth. It stretches 250 kilometers and is filled with landmines, barbed wire, armed guards, and surveillance equipment. Crossing the DMZ is almost impossible, but rare attempts do happen. In 2017, a young North Korean soldier made a desperate dash for freedom. He stole a military jeep and sped down a road leading to the border. South Korean surveillance cameras captured every moment. When the vehicle broke down, he jumped out and ran. North Korean soldiers fired over 40 rounds at him, hitting him several times. Yet, bleeding and barely alive, he managed to collapse just over the South Korean side. He survived only because South Korean troops dragged him to safety. His escape is one of the very few successful crossings in history. The most common escape route is through China. Two rivers, the Yalu and the Tumen, form much of the border. During winter, the rivers freeze solid, giving defectors a dangerous but possible chance to cross. But survival doesn't depend only on getting across the river. In many ways, the greater danger lies on the Chinese side. China does not recognize North Koreans as refugees. Instead, they are considered illegal migrants. If caught, they are arrested and sent back to North Korea, where brutal punishments await. This means defectors in China live in constant fear, often hiding for years, moving from place to place, relying on strangers or brokers who may or may not be trustworthy. For Min Yang, life had already been shaped by hardship long before her escape. She grew up in a modest home overlooking the river. Her father worked as a traveling salesman, often crossing into China for business. Her mother had a government job, but secretly earned extra money by trading smuggled goods. This was common near the border, where people relied on trade with China to survive. When Min Yang was 14, tragedy struck. Her father was arrested on his way back from China, accused of bribery and corruption. The family suspected he was tortured during interrogation. Months later, he died in a hospital. The loss shattered their family. They struggled through years of famine and poverty. Min Yang watched neighbors starve, saw children begging on the streets, and realized the promises of her government were lies. The propaganda broadcast in schools and on loudspeakers did not match the reality around her. At 17, she decided to escape. She crossed the frozen Yalu River with nothing but determination. On the other side, she found a Chinese smuggler her family knew. He helped her travel to Shenyang, a massive city unlike anything she had ever seen. For the first time, she experienced the outside world, bustling markets, neon lights, and stores filled with food. But her relief was short-lived. Rumors of her disappearance spread back home. Returning to North Korea became too dangerous. Her mother called her and begged her to stay away. If she came back, the entire family could be punished. From that moment, Min Yang had no home to return to. Life in China was a constant battle to stay hidden. She worked in restaurants, learned Mandarin, and lived under false names. But betrayal was never far. One day, police walked into her workplace and arrested her. At the station, they demanded she prove she was Chinese by writing an essay in Mandarin. Her hand shook, her heart raced, but she managed to write fluently enough to convince them. It was a narrow escape. Had they doubted her, she would have been sent back to North Korea. Years passed. She eventually made her way to Shanghai, where she bought a new identity card using her savings. This allowed her to find stable work as an interpreter at a South Korean company. There, she met a South Korean man who would later become her partner. With his help, she planned to seek asylum in Seoul. The journey wasn't easy. Even in South Korea, authorities doubted her story at first. She spent weeks in detention, questioned over and over, but finally, she was granted residency. She had made it. Her first act after finding stability was to save money and arrange the escape of her mother and younger brother. Years later, she began speaking publicly under the name Hyun-So Lee, becoming a human rights activist and author, sharing her story with the world. Not all defectors are as fortunate. Many fall victim to human traffickers. Women are especially vulnerable. Some are lured with promises of work and safety, only to be sold into forced marriages in rural Chinese villages. A South Korean report estimated that around 60% of North Korean women who escape into China end up trafficked. One such story is that of Shi Un, a young woman who thought she was escaping to freedom. Instead, she was sold to a farmer and endured years of abuse. Eventually, she managed to escape and joined a group of defectors crossing the Gobi Desert toward Mongolia. For days they walked, with little food or water, surviving freezing nights and scorching days. Finally, they reached Mongolian soldiers, who helped them reach South Korea. Her journey was brutal, but it led her to freedom. Stories like those of Min Young and Shi Un highlight both the danger and the resilience of North Korean defectors. Some journeys take weeks, others take years, but all are fueled by the same desire, the hope of living without fear. For every story we hear, there are countless others we never will. Many never make it across the river. Many are caught and sent back. Yet, the courage of those who try shows the strength of the human spirit, even in the darkest of circumstances.